Hello, it's Katie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me. So today we're going to be looking at two more wire weaves. So these are just practice weaves. These are just little practice sections that I like to make to create a repertoire of wire weaves. So this is what I tend to do in my workshops, is that when you come to one of my workshops and it's a beginner's wires workshops, we make lots and lots of little samples, and that's going to remind you, even after the workshop or after you've watched this video, of what we did and how we did it, and it will jog your memory. So keep all your little samples for future reference. So the wires that we're going to be using are a 1mm wire, and this is a 1mm wire. It's a nice structural wire. It's going to create a nice strength to your piece of jewellery, or for this instance we'll be making a sample. And then the wire that we're going to be using to wrap with is a 0.4mm wire, which I tend to use bare copper. I find it nice and malleable to work with, but you can use whatever wire you want. So now we've chosen our wires. We've got our 1mm and our 0.4mm. Let's take a look at what we're going to be making today. So this is the first wire weave, and then we're going to move over and we're going to make this diagonal weave. So this is kind of a diagonal weave, or it's kind of in steps, and working our wire all the way across, and that makes a nice kind of bracelet weave, and it fits together really nicely, and you can actually squish it up and it kind of gives a maybe like a drafts board look or something like that. So that looks really nice too. So these are the two that we're going to be making today. So we're going to start off with that more simple weave. So we're going to take two base wires. So like I said, we're just making samples, so these are all about 4 inches long. So let's just level those up. So I just cut these a little bit randomly, so we've got equal parts. And then I'm going to take a piece of the 0.4. So for sample weaves, I try to usually get about 40 centimeters or so of my weaving wire. So we're going to pick up one of our pieces of wire. So when we're starting a weave, we always leave a little tail, because that tail is going to allow you to hold on this angle here, and so that we don't get the wire just spinning at the beginning. So it gives us something to hold on to. So we're going to start about 3/4 of an inch in, and we're just going to wrap this middle section here. So my weaving wire is underneath, so it's underneath my base wire. So my base wire I've popped on top. And now I'm just going to wrap around twice. So once, and you can see how I keep it nice and controlled around there. So I'm controlling it and guiding it with my thumb, and twice. So I've got two nice, neat, close together wraps, just like so. So those are what we call an anchor wrap. And my wire is exiting from underneath, so that my wire's underneath the wire and my tail's still underneath the wire there. So that's how we start almost all of our wraps. So we're going to pick up the next wire. So that wire is going to sit on top here. So if I just take that off again just for a second. So this second wire has gone on top of this tail. So it's going to sit on top of this tail, and then it's going to sit above the first base wire. So these are base wires, and this is weaving wire. So now we've got those anchor wraps. They're not actually forming part of the design. That's just the beginning of our getting started. So now we're going to go over all of those wraps. So all of those base wires. So both, and all the way back down to the bottom. So we've just wrapped over both wires all the way up and all the way back down the back. And now we're going to go over the bottom wire and push that in, and then going to come up and over the top wire and then through. So we've got a single wrap on each of those wires. So here, the very first one, we've got a full wrap over 2 wires all the way back down, and then we've gone over the bottom wire, then we've gone around the top wire in a sort of figure of 8 fashion. Now my wire is coming out at the back in between these 2 wires, and I'm going to bring it down to the bottom, and I'm going to go over everything again. So over both wires, back down behind both wires. Then I'm going to go over the bottom, push in, over the top, push in, and then I'm going to bring it down towards me and over everything again. And you can see that pattern is starting to build up already. So you can see how hard I'm holding on here. Now if you wanted to, you could take maybe a little bit of washi tape or something and just pop that on there. I don't need to at the moment, but if you find it a little bit like you're gripping on for dear life, just pop a little bit of tape on there, just to make like a low tack tape, like a washi tape or a masking tape, and that will just help you in holding everything together. So it's very simple. We're going to wrap one at the bottom, over, one at the top, down towards you, and then over everything and back down towards you. Around the bottom, push in, around the top, push in, down towards you, and all the way around again. So it really is that simple, but it does create a really pretty weave. And I'll tell you what this is a really nice one for. If you're making a ring and you want the ring shank to be woven and you want it to look really nice and neat and delicate but still be very comfortable to wear, this is very, very nice against the skin. Some weaves can be a little bit uncomfortable against the skin, especially if it's going to be on a ring. So it's always worth just making sure you find the right weave that's going to work for the right job. So this for a ring shank would be lovely. So you can see, and it builds up quite quickly. You can see I'm moving it a lot quicker now. You don't have to move this quick. I always say if you're not sure on something, just slow down and take it very methodically back to basics, like so. So I'll start this again just once more time. So you're going to come towards you, over two, down the back for two. So when I say over two, I'm meaning the both wires, 2 wires. Then I'm going to go over 1 wire, and you see how I kind of push that forwards first. So what I'm doing is I'm telling the wire where I want it to go, then I'm bringing it through, then I'm pushing it up with my fingernail, then I'm bringing it towards the back and around that top wire, pushing, and I'm telling the wire where I want it to go all the time, and then bringing it this way, up, and all the way back down. So I've gone all the way around, and then I'm going to wrap the bottom wire, and I'm telling the wire where I want it to go all the time. So that is our first wrap done and complete. So what I tend to do is I usually do a couple of inches or so in the middle of each one, so you will end up with yours like so. You can see that's building up really nicely. So that's that one done, and we're going to move on to the next wrap. So I'm just going to pop that to one side a second. So now moving on to our diagonal weave. So this is a weave that you could use in a bracelet, because we've got a thicker kind of band of the actual base wires. You could add more base wires if you wanted to, but 5 creates a nice sort of thin bracelet bangle design. So we're going to need 5 base wires for this. You can use more base wires. I probably wouldn't go less than 5, but 5 base wires will work nicely, and try to make sure that they are as smooth out as possible. So we're going to start again like we did at the beginning of the other one. So just popping your weaving wire underneath and making those 2 anchor wraps. So once and twice. So again, my wire's coming from the underneath, my tail wire is also on the underneath, and these 2 weaves, these 2 little wraps, are pushed nice and close together like so. So now we're going to pop on our next wire, and this time we're going to be wrapping 2 wraps over 2 wires. So we're going to come up, over and down, up, over and down, and then once you can see you've got 2 wraps on the front, you're going to come in between the 2 you just wrapped and push them up nicely together. Now we're going to pop on the next one, so like so. So we're just going to pop on the next one above that second one, and then we're going to wrap over those top 2. So coming in between to wrap over 2 twice, and then again. Now I can see I've got 2 wraps on the beginning, on the front there, sorry, and then we can bring that up in between the 2 we just wrapped. So now we've got 2 steps, and then we can pop on our next one Make sure you level them up each time, and over 2, and then you can push that up through. You can either find the end or you can push up through, so coming over 2 wires like so, and then coming up in between. As soon as you can see you've got 2 on the front, you're going to come up in between the 2 you just wrapped, and again popping your last one on and over 2, so 2 wraps over 2 like so. Now, instead of sort of the traditional zigzag weave where we would work back down again, all we're going to do is going to bring that very nice and smoothly down the back there, and then we're going to wrap over the bottom 2 wires again. So we just come all the way down to the bottom and wrap over those bottom 2 wires again like so, and then push them together, making sure they're nice and neatly set in. Then again we're going to come up in between the 2 we just wrapped and push up. We're going to work our way up exactly the same as we just did, so over 2, 2 wraps over 2 wires like so, and then up in between those 2, 2 wraps over 2 wires, encouraging the wire to go where you want it to go as much as you can before you actually wrap it, all the way up to the top. So 2 wraps over 2, and when we get to the top we don't come in between. You can see we've got 2 runs there. I'm going to come down to the bottom, so I'm just going to do that once more. So wrapping those bottom 2, and just every so often just take a look at the back and make sure that these runs that are coming down the back are nice and smooth and straight. And then once we can see 2 wraps over 2, we can come up in between those 2 and up to the top like so, and all the way back down to the bottom again. So that is the way that one builds up. It's a really nice quick one. It creates a really nice solid piece of wire work, so it's a really nice structural piece of wire work. This could be used to edge around a cabochon. Obviously you would use longer base wires for whatever project you're doing, but you can see this here. It creates a really nice strong sturdy piece, and it bends really nicely as well, so it can really smoothly shape that around something. So here's our 2 pieces of wire work. Thank you very much for watching today. I'll be bringing another one of these to you soon with 2 different weaves. So this was part 3, so part 4 will be coming up soon. So make sure you have subscribed to my channel so that you don't miss any of my videos, which are video tutorials on basic techniques like this is today, and also project techniques as well. So I will see you again soon. Don't forget to pop me a like below,